Hello, testing, testing. Are we streaming? Morning. Hello, traveler.
Exhausted
Stranger. Welcome back.
When will we be starting the demo?
9:30. Give you some time to touch base with your students and
Thank you.
get everyone settled. Have you talked with anyone since you got back?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was just talking about Anam and Naveen were around
Okay.
with my students, and they most of them have ink, and some of them have they wanted to talk to me, so I'll do that today.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, they are working on the third way. I had some pictures on GroupMe, so I was contacting them
Cool.
over GroupMe.
Good. How was your trip?
It was good. It was more like India, street life, street food, the beach, and all those fun things.
Puerto Rico? Where were you?
No, Barcelona.
Barcelona. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a site and some rough program, some idea. We were working with landscape architecture students, so
Mhm.
it was from macro to micro.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't done that earlier. so-
Yeah, big site.
Yes, mapping all the streams, territories, slopes, hydrology. I think that's important and fun.
Yeah.
Learned
Cool.
some GIS
There you go.
from them. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. I'm gonna keep finish setting this up, but yeah, let's say 9:30.
9:30.
Happy to walk around and catch up with your students before then, but
Yeah.
yeah. More than likely, most of the students will do like they did last time and stay at their desk and work and watch the YouTube.
Yeah. I think this works better because they simultaneously follow along with you.
Yeah.
So
While they work.
yeah.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Testing, testing. Can you hear me? Testing, testing. Morning. How are you?
lights on in there for the pictures? Take it.
Welcome back, stranger. Stranger from a strange land.
So today are you giving some sort of a demo on drawings?
I am, yes.
Okay, and
Assignment 7. We pushed it off because students would be freaking out. And probably they'll be freaking out today, but we're going to keep moving forward.
okay.
So I will make clear that they're to get as far as they can on the 3D
Oblique.
drawings like for next week, but we'll see how it goes.
Hello, Professor.
Yeah.
Can I get the YouTube link?
Yep. That's
Yeah,
next.
because
Yep.
my-
That's next. Yeah. I'm gonna send it out. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, it's everybody. They can watch YouTube or they can chill and watch this, or they can watch
I
the
think some of
recording
them are
later.
working on their models as well, models
Yeah.
and the drawings.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Morning. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I have a quick question.
Yeah.
It's about absences. So I had these two students email me. I guess it's like an event competition from McKinley that accounts for his absence. But do I keep that? Do I save that somewhere? Do I send it to you?
Yes.
Which one? All of those?
All of it. Yes. Do all. Just yeah.
Okay.
Do all the things. Keep me in the loop. Keep your
Yeah.
own records.
So then when, on the roster, do I, instead of having it say absent, do I put like excused absence? And I don't know how many absences this letter covers.
Um,
Just kind of guess.
yeah. I'm gonna let you kind of
figure that out.
How many absences is this the kid that missed 2 weeks?
Oh no, this is someone who missed 3 days, and so I
Okay.
told
Is
him,
he trying to get an absence letter for all 3 days? Is that what's going on?
No, I don't know. He just said I attached my event confirmation. That accounts for my absence yesterday. Okay, I guess that explains it.
So
But
what?
there's another
Yeah.
person that also sent me that. So yeah, okay. And then you got my email about me not being here next Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as long as you talk to the other fellow.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, great.
So you'll be sending a link to the YouTube, right?
I need you guys all to come here before class so I can say it once to everyone. Like you guys are all trickling up to me like, where's the YouTube link? Where's the YouTube link? Like,
Yeah.
maybe I just need to be better about sending an email before class, but yes, it's coming. Yeah. I will probably start at 9:30 or so. Same deal as last time. Students can come here, they can watch, they can stay at their desk. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any other glue things? Because these are too big for this.
Yeah, no. Yeah. That was a huge box that was donated and it's been used up. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm out of consumables to donate.
Okay.
Yeah. If I come across more, I'll put it up there. Yeah. Yeah. Is it, you said it's the big ones that are there?
The big ones are there.
Yeah, the small ones, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know like the small stuff they sell like Target and all sorts of random places. Yeah. But white glue works. Testing, testing. Hello, 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 hello. Testing, testing. Can you hear me? Testing, testing. Hello, hello.
Maybe I'll get it all run as we go back.
Can you hear this? Does that make sound? Yeah. Hello, hello. Testing, testing. We should have sound. Yeah? Cool. Start recording. All right. So I'm going to start off on the screen here and going to talk about. I've pointed many of you guys towards our textbook for this class. Like there are no textbooks you have to buy, but on the library page, there's a number of them that are available for free. Many of you, I know for me, it took me a while to kind of understand orthography and like what it was and how it was useful. And even when people tell you like a section is a cut in a vertical direction or a plan is a cut in a horizontal direction. And if I show you, it still might not make sense. So I encourage you, everyone who's listening, go onto the Google Drive, and in the textbooks, I put a PDF of like the entire chapter that covers orthography from Julia McMurrow's book. Right? So it starts with plans, and she's got these beautiful diagrams that may be better than my drawings that kind of explain this stuff. She's got some examples of different types of plans, different types of sections, which is the next one. And then we get elevation, so looking at the side of the building. And if you keep going, you'll hit axonometric. All right, so we are, for assignment 7, going to make a 3D view. There are different types of 3D views in the world. If you look at the assignment on the last page on our good friend Wikipedia, it's got this like beautiful diagram that explains the different types of graphical projections that exist. This is like a short list. There's many more, but these are the main ones that maybe designers and architects will use. We've already covered a bunch of these, right? So the first angle and third angle, like this plan, elevation. We've talked about perspective a little bit when we were sketching, right? And then you've got axonometric and oblique, and these are the ones that look 3D, right? These two terms are used interchangeably. Depends who you talk to. A lot of people say anything that looks 3D is an axon. By definition, they're all under the kind of the parallel category of drawings, like parallel versus perspective drawings. But there's a difference between axons and obliques. I usually use the term interchangeably. Outside of this room, it will be used interchangeably, but we should understand the difference. So an axonometric is a drawing that takes the dimensions of whatever you're trying to represent and scales it. So we can still measure off it. That's the beauty of these drawings, just like a plan in a section where we can measure with our ruler or with our graphic scale, which see a graphic scale over here. I have to borrow one. Can I ask someone to like reach in the sharing table and give me a white triangular graphic scale of a ruler? I think bottom left there should be one, a couple. But anyway, axons we can measure, right? And we can use the scales to get like specific, like a ratio of how big things are. Obliques, on the other hand, we'll scroll down a little bit. She's got a longer section on axons. Yeah, that one. Perfect, yeah. She's got a longer section on axons because that's kind of the terminology people normally use. But if you go down to obliques, this is actually what we're going to be drawing. And the main difference between an axon and an oblique is that an oblique, we can just take our plan drawing that we're starting with and rotate it and then kind of trace over that and then use our elevation drawings to draw the heights. And so we're going to project the height up. Axons are kind of weird. Like axons, look back. Kind of hard to see. The top one is isometric. So that's kind of the main one we use. And you guys have, I don't know if in your kit did they give you a 30-60 triangle? Probably not. I think I told you guys you only have these, right? adjustable triangles. So adjustable triangles, we can get 30, we can get 60, we can get all sorts of different angles with it. But you'll see these a lot, 30, 60 triangles, and the reason they exist is the 30, 60 is what allows you to create an isometric drawing, right? Like kind of a standard centered isometric drawing. And this will make more sense in a second. The second line, we have diametric drawings and then trimetric drawings. It basically means that we can take our base drawing, or this angle we have, and we can change the angle in random ways. And there's different ratios of, say, proportion between, we have the x and the y of our model, and we have the z of the height. So those things will be at different proportions depending on which face you're trying to privilege. So there's lots of kind of like reasons that you might make as a designer for choosing the kind of angles and proportions of the 3D drawing that you do. We're gonna do oblique drawings, which takes a little bit of that translation out. We can just kind of build from the plan. There's different types of obliques. So cabinets, cavaliers, plan obliques, section obliques. If we scroll down a little bit, Julia's wonderful book, she's got some great examples. This is a plan oblique, so you have a plan, and then you see the lines kind of go off at a 45 degree, the height of things. So it's totally kind of weird to look at first, but the more you look at axons and obliques, the more you kind of are able to read them, or the easier it is for you to be able to read them. The most standard one that we're going to do, and I put this diagram on our, so this one, is a 45 degree plan oblique. So we're going to take our plan, we're going to rotate it 45 degrees, we're going to use this thing just kind of locked in this main position. But going forward, so my third year studio, we're doing things like this, trans obliques they call it. This is a plan drawing that we see the elevation. So it's not rotated 45, it's just a straight up plan. And then we take the elevation and kind of like lay it over the top and then layer things in back. So I can only see the front of this building, I can't see the sides. So by choosing the orientation of your oblique, you can eliminate whole aspects of your project from the rendering or show lots of aspects of the rendering. This is an elevation oblique, so it's privileging like this screen wall. That's kind of the thing that's flat, and then the depth of the building kind of going back, maybe the Y direction. So we have like X and Z are flat, but the Y direction is off at an angle, as opposed to this one where the X and Y are flat, but the Z goes up at an angle. So anyway, I also left it in perspective, so you can look through this chapter on perspective. But let's talk about how to do this. So I'm not going to read step by step through the instructions here. You guys can kind of read that. I'm going to talk you through how to actually do it. The first step is the same as assignment 5, or assignment 3 and assignment 5. You're going to take a model from your latest collection, and you're going to draw like a construction drawing. So we're going to take the top view, or the roof plan as we've been calling it, and every other piece of paper that we can kind of see, and we're going to project it flat onto the paper, right? So it's kind of X-ray view. The big difference between this and assignment 3 and 5 is we're going to do it at 1-to-1. So we're not going to double the size of things. You can, maybe after you try the first one, if you want to do like a big axon or a big plan oblique, like you can make it 2-to-1, but I think for the sake of time and ink and paper cost and your sanity, we're going to keep it a little bit smaller, all right, for this one. So if you're smart, you'll kind of figure out like you can just measure real quick and lay it out. I'm not going to measure every single one, but this is where you would get your ruler out, you know, and you measure the piece of paper. And go back to this thing. So you measured it, we're going to do your projection. YouTube. Before that, I'll show you some examples. This is like the earliest, probably most famous, not the earliest. The earliest axons were done by Chinese landscape painters for hundreds of years. That's how, before people used perspective, they drew in oblique, or they drew in axons. So rather than having the depth of things, they would draw like big, long landscapes where you can kind of see the 3D-ness of things without perspective, or without kind of a true, accurate representation of depth, let's say. This drawing is from, this drawing is from the Bauhaus, and this is like the interior of, I think like the waiting room of a dentist office or something. It's like just a regular office. And the beauty of it is that it's been, the two front walls that are facing us are like x-rayed, so we can't see it. And so we're looking in, and even the furniture where it touches the edge of the box is kind of white. We'll call that poché. So that desk or something like it's like touches the wall, and we're removing that wall so we can kind of see that cut or that edge. All the lines are parallel, and this is really easy to kind of see, right? On obliques, just like plans and sections, if two lines in the real world are parallel, we draw them parallel. And so this allows kind of a accurate representation of the proportions of things to other things. This one has got some basic textures. It's kind of heavy on the color, but you know, this type, what I'm asking you guys to do with the plans and sections, where we add texture onto different surfaces, you're going to do the same thing in 3D once we get there. But anyway, I've got a bunch of these. People like to sketch in 3D or sketch in axon, sketch in oblique quite a bit. It's a great habit to get into, I think. To learn to see the world as like little axonometric sketches, because you can describe, again, three surfaces or a lot of surfaces really quickly. And even people who aren't trained as architects can still kind of read a drawing like this, maybe. Often you'll kind of use this drawing technique to make exploded drawings. So this would be like an exploded, actually an isometric drawing, showing the different parts of this construction exploded up with little dotted lines that kind of show how they're connected. And this one has little words. I don't know, remember what this was, but it's like a long banner, really big one. We will get into the computer and start to think about how to make digital axonometrics, a la this one, which maybe show a landscape or a city or a world that kind of keeps going. It's one way to say it is like a bird's eye view. It's almost like a bird, but again, everything is parallel. Birds have eyes just like humans have eyes, so birds see in perspective. So the big thing is to understand we're not drawing perspective. Nothing converges. This is an abstraction of our lived reality. But it's kind of like if we were on a space station with a long telephoto lens, you know, almost eliminating perspective and zooming in on like a city or something. Another famous axon by Madeline Briesendorf. She's an artist who partners with Rem Koolhaas of OMA, and she did a lot of the paintings and images that made their firm really famous. And, this is City of the Captive Globe, this little allegory of different architectures from around the world in this ideal city. Anyway, I got a ton of these things. We can look at them all day. I will kind of post these up. Maybe I'm in Google Drive and take a look. I'm gonna get going on this. Okay, so step one is to measure your paper, translate it onto the paper, one-to-one. This model I made, I have a different grid, kind of messed up the grid a little bit. So you're kind of gonna wanna choose which way you're gonna look at the drawing at the end. I have it set up where you have a plan and then two elevations. So that way you can project one elevation, and then project the other elevation right above it. You could draw 4 elevations and then choose which one, but I would say spin the model around, like pick a view. Kind of what we're doing is we're rotating 45 degrees up from the corner and like 45 degrees from straight. And you can kind of see if you rotate it around, some views are going to be more interesting, or some views are going to show more information. Other views won't. This one, I can see into this little square. I can kind of see these layers kind of going up behind. If I turn it this way, I have a lot of information in the front, and it's kind of hard to see this stuff in the back. We can use dotted lines eventually to show like hidden information, but like this one in particular, it's gonna get crowded. There's like a lot of stuff there that I need to draw, so maybe hidden lines is not what's gonna happen. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I'm arranged the right way. I'm just kind of freestyling some of these. You guys will measure. And I'm going to start from the top and I'm going to work down. So I got this flower, got this thing, got this box underneath which kind of wraps around these wires. I've got this box which wraps around these wires. Again, this is the construction drawing, so I'm not like maybe worrying too much about measurements. I've got this line that goes around, I got this line that comes out. I've got another little box underneath this guy. This flower kind of cascades through here. And it's getting complicated, right? So at this point, maybe I'm using color pencils, or I'm saying 1, 2, 3, like making yourself some sort of like notations. There's another box down here. There is another flower. And the base part, like these couple of pieces of paper down here, I'm not going to worry about just yet. Okay, so I did that like in a couple minutes. You might take a few more minutes to measure it and be accurate. Same rules apply. Be as accurate as you can. The more accurate you are, the better the drawing, the better your skills of kind of translating the 3D world into the 2D world. That will serve you well in the future. But don't kill yourself. At some point, you need to kind of finish the drawing. So 100% perfection is not going to be the way to do it. 100% perfection means you'll be here forever. Okay, so I'm going to draw. I've got my plan, and I'm going to draw the elevation. So looking at this side, kind of projected down. I could use the same trick where I have a P-square and my lines that I can project, little pieces of information, but I'm just gonna freestyle it. Got flower, I've got box, and maybe I should measure a few of these. It's pretty good. I've got flower that kind of curls up. We have layers, we have a wall, we have layers, we have a wall, and some other stuff that's farther down that I can't see as much, but I can fill that in later, okay? I'm gonna rotate this back, I'm gonna rotate it over, and I'm gonna draw another elevation looking at this side, okay? There's a wall, there is a box, let's measure it, like 1.25 inches. There's another wall, or a floor here, there's another one here, there's some other walls, and a box, and another little box. Okay, again, did it in a minute. You'll take a few more to get that done. Okay, so I've got let's call it a construction, X-ray, one-to-one drawings, like orthographic drawings. Cool? So at this point, we're gonna take our paper, we're gonna pull it off our drawing board. And we could even, this is a bit long. Rotate it. Okay. So I've got my drawing table here is taped to the edge of my taped flush to the edge of my table. I'm gonna take my T-square and I'm gonna take my 45 adjustable triangle and I'm gonna lay my drawing underneath it. I'm gonna try to get my plan oriented corner to corner at a 45-degree angle. So one way to do it is just take your T-square and kind of rotate the drawing underneath it. Or the other way to do it is to take your triangle, I'm going to use a smaller one here, and make sure that your edge is along your 45. So take your time, like get it set up. Pretty close. And then tape it down. Dots. Lots of tape. Okay, so I'm gonna double check after yeah, question. Oh yeah, sorry. I got a lot of things going on at once, so if I'm ever like not making sense or something's like clearly wrong, like let me know. Thank you. Okay, so we double check it. Like we've got your T-square flush with the edge. We've got your triangle. You can double check. Looking good. We're at 45. The first one you do, make it 45. The second one you do, if you do another one of these or you're feeling into it, change it. If you rotate it a different angle, you'll get a different result. So rather than looking equally at the two faces and the top, which is what I'm going to see, I can maybe this side is more important or more interesting, so I can like rotate it a little bit more that way. So this side is shallower, this side is bigger, right? Or it takes up more square footage within my drawing. Okay, take a fresh sheet of trace paper. I would lay it so it's flush with the edge of your drawing table. If anyone is making these drawings and they're finding that their desk is janky and their cutting board ain't cutting it, and I know those little Masonite boards we had you guys buy, probably not the best. There is drafting tables over there on the cutting board. Get yourself some, or borrow one while you're working on this. Or move to a different desk if your desk is too crowded or not flat. What I'm doing here, putting like a piece of mat board down below also works. Okay, so I'm gonna do this sort of quickly, just the first layer, and then we'll do another layer that'll be like the inked kind of more careful final one. So this is again still like a construction layer. We can still think about it as one-to-one without thinking about scale quite yet. But the main deal would be like, let's start with our box, our base, and maybe we can start with the wires. So I've got say a wire here. I know how the wires are. Let's go X on one side, Y on the other, and then the wire is 5 inches, right? So I can draw a line from that wire straight up. So up 5 inches, that is the Z. You see that? It's like X, Y, and Z. And those are the orientations. So Y is all that way, X is all that way, Z is always up, straight up that way. And again, some of the examples that I showed you for the different obliques, like maybe the Z is at an angle. Like you could change these angles. Like you could totally take control over how the geometry projects. But the main idea is to be consistent, I guess, because like even if I rotated the Z like off at some funny angle, like that or something, as I move this around, I would keep that same angle, so my Z's are always parallel. Remember, parallel drawings, no perspective. Okay, so I'm gonna run through it. I'm just gonna really quickly like pop some 5-inch wires on these. I'm just double checking that my T-square is flat. And we'll start to notice something like this one overlaps with the other one. They're like right in line because they're vertically above each other. So there's gonna be some like lines that are in plane with each other or in the same place. Make some little ticks or do them just off so that you can see. Yeah, mechanical pencils walked away, so I'm using this guy. Okay, there is a forest of wires drawn in plan oblique. Like, that's it. They're looking good. I'm gonna do a single shape. Let's call it, and I'm looking at this model like this here. So let's do, say, this leaf up top, which if I trace it, is this thing. It's relatively flat. It has like a little bit of curvature as it kind of goes up. So what I want to do is I want to take that red shape and I want to move it up, so in the Z direction, whatever distance. A couple ways to do that. One easy way so we're using too much tape. So I can measure how high it is off the base. It is, let's call it 3 3/4. So I can measure, say, off my wire, which starts here at the base and goes up 3 3/4. Make a little tick mark. I could take this shape and kind of eyeball it in up here, or if I'm smart, move my top drawing down so that that tick mark is where the wire is and trace that shape in plan. Do it in red. Okay, so now if I go back to there, I've moved this red shape up a certain amount. Does that make sense? We can do it again. Let's do this box right here. So this box is here in plan. I'm gonna do, say, the top of the box, because that's what I'm gonna see for the most part. So I can measure how high it is off my ground. 2.5, let's say. So I can measure, I know it touches this front wire, so I'm gonna measure on that wire. 2.5, make a little tick mark. So here, my outline of my base is overlapped with the outline of my base, you know, right there. And I'm just gonna move it up or down so that that rectangle that I projected flat into the plan is now moved up on my my oblique drawing. So I could do that, and then move back. Let's put a piece of paper under so it's easier to see. So that is the top of this shape that I just drew. There's a thickness to that shape, so I can measure the thickness, 1.25 inches. And again, everything is, I can measure off a plan oblique. So I could use a ruler to show the thickness of this stuff. 1.25 inches, 1.25 inches, 1.25 inches. And I'm gonna see the front aspect of this box. Look at that. And I'm gonna see the inside of it, 1.25 inches. There. And so this is just a piece of paper drawn in 3D. I would see maybe a dotted line of how it kind of goes behind the other one eventually, right? Does that make sense? So there's this vertical space in between the bottom of this wire and the bottom of this paper. Vertical space in between the bottom of the wire and the bottom of the paper. Making sense? I can't see you guys. The lights are in my eyes. You can see whether your eyes are wide or not. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the process. Take this off. I'm going to kind of eyeball some of these in based off the same height. So I got this zigzaggy paper, these two zigzaggy papers. It's kind of a little bit higher than that one. This one is kind of the same height. So right now I'm just tracing what I've already drawn in the plan. I'm not making it very fern-like, but it's all good. What else? There's another box here. So that box is sitting, let's measure it. Three inches above. So this box, and again, if I'm getting confused, let's do color. What I say, 3 inches, so we can measure, find some wire. This is why wires are nice. We can kind of use them as registration marks. So I know this wire, I'm going to go up 3 inches. So there. I can move down so that my green line is touching that little mark I just made. Where was it? There it is. Has some thickness to it, so I'm going to see the thickness. We've got this wall, so I see this wall. And this is a great example. It touches the edge. So like right here, it touches, and then it goes up a certain height. So it goes up 1.5 inches. I could use, to get this all taped down, I could use my T-square, and I could measure up 1.5 inches. I'm just gonna eyeball it. This wall is an L shape. It curves in, so it wants to curve in up to where it is in plan. I've already drawn it. We have another wall over here, which is this one. So it goes up a certain height, it goes over. We've got this box on the back side that's underneath this piece of paper, so I can just go down from the top. Goes down 1.5 inches. So it goes down from this red piece of paper and it goes over. And I want this line to be parallel to that line, but it only goes over 1 inch. I went too far. It's a box, so you can draw the whole thing in there. This wall, I've got this fern-shaped thing that goes down underneath there. And I've got some of these sloping things that I see on this side. So just do it there and there. And these cut back somewhere. And I've got one more kind of flower or fern that is sitting in between these walls. So at a certain point, you kind of use your geometry to locate some maybe more complicated pieces of paper. This other fern, he sits in between, let's say it's half an inch above this wall, and it does its fern thing, kind of cuts away. There's a flower under there too. Okay, so I got a lot of stuff on here. Right now it's kind of a hot mess. It's like a lot of lines, kind of all overlaid. I maybe have an idea in my head. Maybe at this point I'm referencing my notes, you know, like number 2 there. Maybe I'm like number 2. Number 1 was this one. Just kind of go through and make sure you're got everything set. Or I'm gonna tape this down again. We can take a fresh sheet of paper and just do a cleaner version. Okay. Again, first one you do maybe use trace paper. I've sized this so it works on Yupo. You can fit this drawing on a sheet of Yupo, or you can use 1000H as well. Maybe cut a sheet in half. You won't need a full page. If we do this drawing on the 2:1 or 2-to-1 ratio that we've been doing the other ones, it'll take the full 17 by 22 sheet, maybe more, a little bit more than that. So if we make them isometrics and kind of squish the angle a little bit, then we can fit it on a big one. But I'm not into torturing you guys, so we're gonna keep it small here. Cool. Let's get some more tape. You may think I'm into torturing you, but I'm really not. This is a drawing type that was like really popular in the 80s and 90s, and kind of went out of fashion for a little bit once computers came along. A lot of animations and hyper-realistic renderings and all that sort of stuff. But then the neo-postmodernists came along in the 2000s, like where I went to school at UIC. We started to make these again, and some of my older colleagues, Steve Wierzbowski at Trust Outfit, he's like, "You're doing axons? That's so old. That's such an old thing." So kind of what's old becomes new, and this sort of drawing type, like we're starting to see it pop up everywhere again. And I think that's not just because of style, but I think because it's actually like really useful. Okay, so on the fresh sheet, now what I'm going to do is try to draw of these 3 faces. So 1, 2, 3. Where's the wire? 1, 2, 3, right? Top, sides. We are going to kind of draw what we see first, and not draw the things that are behind, some other paper. And we're going to start to think about thickening these geometry. So same way we did for the plans and sections. Piece of paper is not a piece of paper. A piece of paper is like steel or concrete or board form, or wood, logs or wires that are wrapped around, or a photograph of a flower that's been imprinted into rammed earth, like literally anything. Like looking through all the the precedents, and through talking with us, we can help you figure out material knowledge, let's say, or kind of understand a better way to kind of talk about the textures that you're drawing, rather than saying, I don't know, it's just lines or just dots. Like, you should say it's like it's concrete or it's wood or whatever. Like, use the language of architecture, even if you're not 100% sure like what it is. Cool. So I'm going to start again at the top and kind of work down. I've got. We'll start with the first flower I did. You see most of it. That has a thickness, so I'm gonna draw a line down. I'm gonna draw the edge, and I'm gonna just call it whatever. At this point, we can bust out your scale again, and you can choose a scale and think about how big the people are gonna be next to your little drawing. I think 1/8 inch is great. If you guys use 1/8 inch, then the people are about yay big, sitting on there. That's pretty cool. Half that size, so this is 1/8 inch equals 1 foot 0 inches. Chubby guy. That's 1/16 inch equals 1 foot 0 inches. Or double 1/8 to 1/4. I think 1/4 is too big. Pick one of these two. That way your little people can, I think I have some inhabit your little space. So at this point, also, if you haven't started playing with these little people, you should. So that's 16th. This would be 1/8. I digress. Okay, so I've got this first one. I've got the tube that kind of comes down behind it. We've got this flower at this point, or the fern. At this point, maybe I make it more fern-like. We've got this box. I'm freehanding anything that's straight. If you guys want to use a ruler for, you should do so. I think the same rules apply. It's a combination of ruled and freehand makes for beautiful drawings. This is this paper that kind of folds over. This is this next one. This one, I see the bottom. I see this top guy. Put that here. So this one kind of goes down below. I'm doing the wires last, you notice? You guys ever just doodle drop shadows onto things in your notebooks and stuff? That's basically what we're doing here. Kind of front, you want to add a drop shadow. That's another flower. This flower is kind of facing away, so I don't see too much of the front of it or the thickness of it. I see this box kind of emerging underneath these pieces of paper. There's another flower actually that kind of goes over the front. So I would erase some of this. See some other flowers. So again, you can use your eyeballs and you can kind of look, but remember, my eyes aren't seeing this. I would need to be way far away with a telephoto lens. So measuring and trusting the projection process that I did in the previous step, that's the way to be accurate. Using your eyeballs is a way to like be expeditious with time. got this wall. It sort of pops through. Got, you know, this other wall has a thickness to it. We've got this fern thing that kind of pops through. We've got these pieces that kind of slice through the wall. And that's kind of it. It's like what I can see. All the stuff that you guys are looking at on the backside, I can't see. So I'm not going to draw it. I could later. I could draw in like dotted lines for all this stuff, but let's just ignore it for now. Cool. So I got like the start of like a 3D drawing without like thinking too hard. I thought a little bit, but not too much. Trusted the process, trusted the projection. It's the same as plans and elevations and sections, just with three axes rather than two. So X, Y, and Z going up. Okay, so at this point, maybe I start to draw on the wires. They are sticking up. They kind of pierce through some of these. Messed up. This wall is supposed to be over here, but whatever. Forward. So drawing the little circle for the top of the wires will help differentiate them from all the other lines that are happening at this point. Again, this is pencil, this is a construction layer still. You'll come back with ink and kind of clean it up. That one goes behind the paper. Circles for all the ones I'm trying to do here. This one actually curves up. I didn't draw the curve. So that'll mean the wires have different depths. This one goes behind. These guys are all kind of equal. This one goes to there. Cool. Got some wires in there. I think a few more of these I would see popping through. Actually, some surfaces that I can see through there. So this is a one-to-one kind of translation. I'm starting to think about scale. This is where maybe we take another sheet and start to think about design. So like we've done with the plans and sections, like changing it. So maybe this whole thing becomes a glass roof for whatever reason. And imagine that people go in there, or this box that I have there, I cut some windows, some archway windows. Maybe on this this flower ramp that goes up, I have some little tiny benches that are fern shaped. You know, like adding stuff in that we've been doing for the plans and sections. Maybe between these two, again, glass, I mean, glazing walls are nice, easy things to do. This is getting dull. because that still allows us to see through it, but adding in surfaces that don't exist in paper. We can invent as we do this. Cool? So when you're done designing and when you're done kind of laying out, you would take a fresh sheet of 1000H or UPA, you tape it down and you do the inking. Same rules. There's like a few other things that you might want to think about with the Axon that are a little bit different. So I won't sit here and ink the whole thing. You guys can go back to your desk and like keep working. I'll finish it this evening or tomorrow or something. Then post it. I made mistakes. Like those arch windows, keep those in there. I'm just drawing with a 0.5, adding in thickness. Trying to get enough in here that I can talk about some 3D line type considerations. Yeah, I'm not ruling anything. You guys should rule some of these. Don't make the whole thing freestyle. All right, get in there. Wire that comes down. Okay, so we've been spending a lot of time, especially in the plans and sections, talking about when you draw things that are far away, we're imagining that there's fog, right? And that they would be lighter, and that things that are closer to the camera would be heavier. Don't do that for this one. If you're thinking about that, like this box is like closer to me, so I'm gonna draw that really heavy, and this thing is like farther away, I draw that lighter. It's just gonna start to look weird. What you should more so think about is trying to define air or space that is in between things with graphic edges, with silhouettes. So basically having a little bit different line weights to accentuate. So here there's like air underneath this. So I want to accentuate that all of these three things are together. So I might outline and it kind of cuts back in there. Bottom of this, and then around the top. And maybe even going over these wires. And maybe these windows get a little bit of So you can see how that kind of like pops this collection of shapes which are touching each other away from, let's say, these guys on the ground, which are these things. And maybe I put a little texture with the thinner. Let's do it right. Emphasizing the 45 will emphasize the obliqueness of this whole composition. Like whatever I'm drawing here is like the texture of the stuff that's below. And then there's this thick, let's call it graphic silhouette that kind of separates that from this, which allows me to read it as being distinctly removed. Maybe there's some kind of speckled texture on there. This guy curves up, so I can think about drawing maybe some contour lines. Contour lines like topographic lines, so imagining slicing vertically through this thing to kind of show that it's not flat. So having these thin kind of curvy lines perhaps, or in this case it's relatively straight, that track along the surface to explain its change. That'll make more sense once we get in the computer for sure. You could think about that you could think about the fact that there's poché. So we were considering that this is a slice of cake out of a larger sheet pan, right, of design, a larger casserole dish, and we're just taking like a little piece of it. So like this piece of paper, for example, is maybe sliced. So maybe I come in with my thicker line weight. And a bit of poché. So it's not going down so well. That will further accentuate that maybe this piece of paper keeps going. This one, I folded it, so it maybe it stops right there or something. Right, like this thing keeps going. Same thing, maybe this guy at the end, like, is a thicker cut with a poché. Thicker cut. I'm exaggerating a little bit the line weights just so it's legible. And then come with your 0.5 to do this one because it's not being cut, we're just seeing the edge of it. I said I wasn't going to do the whole thing. So a main thing to think about is if you're looking at things in the world in 3D, say I'm looking at the edge of this table, or let's use something that folks can see. I'm looking at this box that's held up in space. When I draw this line here, I can see that I can see the two faces that it touches. Therefore, I'm going to make it a bit thinner. Like these two lines would be a bit thinner. This line, this line, this line, this line, when I look at it, I can't see the other face. All I see is air, right? And so there's a difference between like this face and say the table, which is what you could see. So I would make those lines thicker to kind of accentuate the fact that there's air. Graphic novelists do this all the time to kind of pull apart a drawing and make it seem more deep. So with like a 0.8 maybe, you can come in and outline things that are not touching. So inside of this box here, maybe it's the bottom edge. It's easy to kind of get carried away with it, but it does help. The main thing would be to do a little bit, maybe like I'm doing here, just test it out, see how your line weights look, and then do a final one that's going to be more committed. But I would stick with like your 0.5, 0.4, something in the middle to do most of your lines. It's easier to add thickness than it is to remove thickness. Damn near impossible to remove thickness, short of Photoshop and redoing it. Like maybe these wires are kind of thick at the top because they keep going. All right, and then all the other rules of texturing will apply if you want to. Some little vertical lines, maybe little vertical lines with like some wiggles that maybe show it's wood boards or something. Little people. So what did I choose? I'll do an 1/8 inch. The people are chilling up here. Can't draw city people very well. Big planters with some trees up there, going like some green roofs. Go ahead and draw one. Maybe on this surface, it's landscape, especially for you landscape architects amongst us, sustainable design students. Questions? You could, yeah. So like this one that goes back there, like maybe I draw a little dash line. The wire as it comes up, you know.
So it should be like a last step.
Yeah, and do it like really thin line weight. So when you do dash lines, maybe you it goes from solid to dash, but also from medium to thin or something, or from thin to extra thin. As you guys are learning, like the more contrast we have in the drawing, the better. Obviously, if I drew every single line that was on this, the drawing's going to get really dense, and therefore it's going to get ugly and illegible. We are trying to make beautiful drawings that people can read and understand. So you guys have to use your intuition at some point to say, I'm going to stop, or I'm not going to draw everything in here. There's only so much real estate, and if you're adding pen, eventually it'll turn black. Yeah. What time is it? 10:30? An hour? It's pretty good. A little bit less than an hour. Any questions? Any things I can clarify? Make sense? Cool. That's good. So take a whack at it. Get as far. I'm saying this in a mic. Get as far as you can by Wednesday for the midterm. I would love to see a version of this, maybe a pencil drawing of like one of your mottos for the midterm, like an attempt at it. I know maybe the stress is starting to get high to produce everything for the midterm, so it's not like required that you have an inked assignment 7 oblique for the midterm. It would be nice, but not required. Focus on finishing what you started. So the plans, the sections, and the models. Capiche? Cool.
Thank you. Professor.
Yeah.
For the part that I couldn't hear the part where you talked about that.
Yeah.
Look at the back of it, you cannot see the middle. Like, should I accentuate that part or like make it more?
So for example, if I'm drawing a little box like that, it would be like this. Right? With that. All I'm saying is, so if you have another box, it's beneath it. If they're touching, you would maybe want your outline to go all the way around.
Only the touching
Because they're touching. Like, so this face and that face, or all three of these faces are not coplanar, but
Object?
near each other.
Yeah.
Right. If I lift this box away from the other one, then I maybe want to add in this line that goes there, because that separates them, makes them seem like there's a little bit of air in between, or you can accentuate that with shadow. There's other ways to do it. We didn't even talk about shadow on this thing, but you guys can use pencil on this to add tone and variety. In addition to the textures, or literally to show shadow, it's the whole thing.
And for this part, we don't need to really draw.
Like draw the line.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I've got in like there's maybe like a ghosted box that this thing is inscribed inside, right? You don't need to draw that.
Okay.
That's the point of the wires. The wires, by having them in there, it kind of implies that there's a cube or a grid that we're working on.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Clear enough?
Yeah. What are those 4 little bars you drew over here?
These?
Oh, these are
Yeah, the wires.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really finish this.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.